Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. You're back at your favorite spot, the place where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. We're going to the land down under. We're going to visit with Zoe Jack. She helps people reclaim their rhythm of life. Synchronicity, your heartbeat, your true essence. She guides professional working women to reclaim their joy, confidence, and a heartfelt rhythm in 12 weeks or less. Now, she must have some pixie dust brains, okay? Because I tell you, some people cannot get their mojo back. Okay? She's going to help us do that and a whole lot more. Let's welcome her to the show. How you doing, Zoe?
Hello, April, and hello, brains from around the world.
Right. We are here in full effect. We're here to be with you because you know what? People's timing is off. You know,
Yes.
They do not feel the syncopation and the rhythm of their heart and their soul. Brains, I'm telling you, we are living in the last days. I know your grandmother told you that 100 times, but I'm telling you, it is here, and Australia is a portal. It is a portal. It was one of the very first places that civilization was even recognized outside of Africa. Okay, so what you need to understand is that we need to get back in alignment. And not only is she fantastic at helping people get the rhythm back, but also she's a kinesiologist. And we're going to talk to her about that and find out really what that is. Tell us a little bit about you, Zoe, and how you show up in the world.
Well, I am, the labels of a mum, a daughter, a sister, a wife. I live at home with my husband, who's just recently retired in Maroubra, a beautiful beachside suburb of Sydney. And I originally came from England and came out here when I was 11 years old. Because of my dad, he got seconded out here and we never left. And so I've got a number of, I've got two kids, I've got a little fur baby dog. And I started off in kinesiology in about 2015 when I was in some really awful, stressful times at work. And as a result of that, I managed to talk my boss into letting me get some therapy to help me with the stress. And I knew counselling wasn't going to cut it because I know a lot about myself and I like to go deep. And so I managed to talk her into giving me 3 sessions of hypnotherapy. Now, a hypnotherapist turned out to be a kinesiologist. So she told me to come back on my own time at my own expense and come in and have a session of kinesiology. I'd never even heard of it. I couldn't even say it. I kept saying, kinesi what? And, what? And she gave me a session, and on that table I cried, I laughed, I shook, I breathed, I let go, and I walked down to the beach and I sat on a rock with all these shells I'd picked up. Of course, there were 7, and they were all the colours of the chakra, which I'd done unconsciously. And I sat on the beach at one of the rocks, and the water washed over me, and I went, that's it. I'm going to change my life and become a kinesiologist. So it was an epiphany moment. It was one of the few I've had in my life, and it was big. And I'm still doing it now. What is it now? 10 years later, I'm still working in here from home. This is my clinic in my home, and I work a lot with women and children, particularly a lot now with kids, and bringing that sense of connection back to each other so they can communicate and connect and open their hearts, which gives this ripple effect across their home and their friends and their family and their community.
Absolutely. What is that beautiful banner?
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
You may run, walk, stumble, drive, or fly, but never lose sight of the reason for the journey.
Oh, wow. That's a real trip.
Yeah,
Real trip.
that is a trip.
But some trips aren't worth the gas. Okay.
Very true.
And sometimes you don't have the miles to trip on them. Folks are tripping over themselves. Yes, we're moving brains. And all of those things, all of those little cliches and little coin phrases mean something when you are trying to find yourself. So many
Yeah.
are lost. They call them seekers. But what are they
Yes.
looking for? They're looking for the true essence of themselves. You'll ask someone, it's like asking a child when they're 8 years old, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't know. I haven't had enough life experience. Or
Exactly.
looking for your true self, your authentic self. When people say their authentic self, I come up out the ground because you don't want to see somebody with their teeth out and their wig off and their eyes crossed. That's their authentic self. But trying to find the true essence of who you are. How does kinesiology help people go deep and find that?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing I need to mention here is kinesiology is different around the world. So in America, how a lot of people see kinesiology over there, from my understanding, is it's more like what we would call sports science. It's about the movement of the body. Whereas in Australia, and particularly in this little space here of my clinic, I use kinesiology as a way of the movement of the body, which is what it is, but it's also the movement of the energy and the emotions. So I work a lot with the emotions that are behind the physical pain or presentation of what's going on in someone's life. So, when they get stuck, they often get knee pain or foot pain. When they're taking on everybody else's stuff, the burden, they feel it in their shoulders and they get things like frozen shoulders and things like that. So the way I work is to identify with kinesiology, which is biofeedback. So it's your body talking to me and me interpreting that. So the body holds the memories. The
Right.
body holds the emotions. The body knows. But we work from here. Everybody sits in their head. And all these people, the brains that are out there, they're in their heads a lot of the time.
Right.
And as a result of that, their nervous system becomes like the feral cat. You don't want to get too close to a feral cat. So
Right.
when somebody's nervous system is shot and burnt out and in overdrive, approach slowly. No talking, no slow movements, where you can actually just come into a space and hold someone. And that's what I do here. I really use kinesiology with the biofeedback of the body, the messages of the body, to help people reconnect back to their hearts so that they can then start to let go of the story of the traumas that they've experienced.
Right. Right.
And trauma is not what happens to us. It's the fact that someone wasn't there to hold us and love us and nurture us
Mm,
at the time of something happening.
wow.
And that's what I do. I help people reconnect to that so that they can release it or gain more awareness of it, or actually go to a point where they go, I forgive myself and my own little inner child for holding on to that story for such a long time. And I'm going to now let it go. It's powerful.
This sounds like something that would be very helpful in helping people that are extremely empathic.
Yes. Yes.
They hold a lot of energy. They can go into a room and have a meltdown or have a jubilous experience as
Yeah.
well because they're taking on all the energy from other people. I am empathic, but I am not an
Yes.
empath because I know how to turn that switch off and say, that belongs to Zoe.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's one of the things I teach a lot of the children these days that I see. My youngest child was 4 months old. Now
Okay.
she wasn't sleeping. Sorry.
Now, we're going to get into that in just one second, but also something that I want to tap on. You said in America, now the kinesiologists that I have run into, they work with emotion, but also they do a lot of muscle testing.
Yes.
Yes. And I'm sure you incorporate that as well. but that is not your primary focus. I see a lot of them really, they go deep,
Yep.
but they really do the muscle testing to figure out where you have those trapped emotions. Am I correct?
Yes, exactly. And the muscle testing of the whole of the body was never one of my strong suits, I have to say. I was
Okay.
never really drawn to it in kinesiology studies. I use an indicator muscle. So you might see people doing this type of thing, and that will give you an indicator of where there is a stress or not. So I use that. But then I have also trained in shamanic studies using guided energy medicine. And so a lot of that is building and connecting my intuition and my trust in my spiritual team, which is with me all the time. And so what I'm able to do is I use the body's wisdom and knowledge and allow it to remember what is happening within themselves, within the client. And then I get intuitive notifications from my spiritual team about where to take the journey. So the client's actually driving the journey, not me.
Right.
And I'm getting reinforcement from my spiritual team who give me the guidance as to what we need to do next.
All right. Let's.
It gets a bit woo-woo at this point.
No, and that's fine. I'm all into the woo. Okay. But I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering. You know, this team. Okay, because, and again, correct me where I'm wrong, because I'm speaking from a place of ignorance. I don't know. I'm learning. Okay.
Yeah.
But with this is also very spiritual. Okay.
Yeah.
It's very energetic. It's very quantum physics. It's
Yes.
a little woo.
Yeah.
And it's physical. Now,
That's right.
you wake up one day and you have this revelation because the water done washed over you, done got baptized. Okay. And now you say, wow, what do you start do? What is the first thing you do? Because before you can even delve into this, you have to connect with that spiritual energy. You have to make sure that you are in alignment. All
Yeah.
spirits out there, brains, and I'll be the first one to tell you, ain't good spirits. And when you open yourself up, you have to be able to also protect yourself.
Yes.
Forces that are out there, because it's out there. I mean, your next door neighbor might be evil. And I'm just keeping it real. So when you
Yeah.
started to develop or recognize or receive your spiritual partners, what sort of revelation were you having? I mean, again, that's like me. When I started speaking, as you guys call it, down under, you call it light language.
Yes.
We call it speaking in tongues.
Yeah.
The first time, I didn't understand why my tongue was doing something that I couldn't control. That really, that I was in a trance-like state, that I was hearing the voice of spirit and there was nobody there. And first I'm like, okay, am I hallucinating? I know I haven't been, doing any drugs. Am I having a nervous breakdown? Is this real? And then the other people around you are saying, wow, you're seeing this revelation, her demeanor, the way that she dressed, the way she talks, the way she interacts, the way she stops swearing.
Yeah.
She's not drinking. All of this is changing because you're taking on a new normal. What sort of things got your attention? What sort of things started changing you?
So when I started the shamanic studies, that was in 2022, and I it was very much about learning how to trust myself, because the way there's like 9 shamanic gifts. I have a few of them. I work with claircognizance, which is clear knowing. I get sensations in my body, so I can now feel when a client's on the table. I can feel where things are in my body, and then I offer a conversation about it. I get the light language as well, but mine seems to come from ancient earth rather than the stars. And I guess for me, it was very much about asking the questions repeatedly, over and 100 times a day, to get a body movement, yes or no, like a pendulum. And when that started happening, I was getting this movement repeatedly. I could start to understand the language. of how spirit communicated with me. And from there, going into theta, into the fifth dimension. So what I do there is I work into the space, but I will always do a sensory clearing. I make sure I'm grounded. I breathe. I ask permission. I don't just rock up there unannounced. And and then I communicate. And with the way I've been trained in guided energy medicine, we talk directly with source. We don't have the middleman there. So I'm able to communicate in a way through intuition. My claircognizance is my number one gift that I use. And so from there, it's really been a process, I guess, and a journey of learning to trust, knowing what's mine and what's not mine.
Right. Knowing your stuff. When you said something about movement, I met a woman one time. We were at a networking event, and she was real heavy. She was just really, so heavy you almost needed a crane. Everybody wanted to meet her, and I got up to meet her. But the energy and the force field around her was like something I had never felt before. Yeah. And so she asked to gain permission. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to see if she's, if the rubber meets the road. She asked for permission. I felt this.
Wow.
Yeah. I felt, and I said, I'm going to stay steadfast in these heels. I'm not going to move. And the look in her eyes, she transformed into a different, I don't know, not her facial features didn't change. She had this glazed look over her eyes. I was getting a little concerned. I was like, what is this about? But the energy about her, and when I was talking to the other ladies, they said that she was really into shamanic. She was really into kinesiology. She also did the Akashic records. She also did ayahuasca.
Oh yes, I've done that.
And okay, and I'm telling you, that's all the rave here in California. I'm not ready for the trip.
The trip's pretty full on.
Firstly, like a lot of people will say, oh, well, I don't remember, or my life is not so that I've had any deep-rooted trauma that I would need to break through.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid that if I open Pandora's box, there's no telling what has happened in a past life. Now, I was going to do a past life regression when it was during COVID. I was going to go to New York and do it. A girlfriend of mine was going to go with me. And I tell you, when COVID came and I couldn't travel, I was relieved. But it is, when you do ayahuasca, have you done it more than once?
I've only done it once. I flew over to Peru in 2018 and stayed over there. I did 7 ceremonies in 10 days. It was pretty amazing. Had a wonderful experience.
Yeah, see, I don't know. And I know people like Andre 3000 from, he's done it like 4 or 5 times. Will Smith, he's done it 14 times.
Wow. Yeah.
Is it that intense? And you can't be playing with plant medicine. You can't play.
No. You need to go to a place where it's very legitimate and ethical, and the place that I went to, they followed the traditional ways of the Shipibo tribe. And they were very conscious of not just taking the plant and using it, but giving back to the community, to the Amazon, to the plant.
Right.
So it was very ethical and very legitimate. It was and it was a confronting experience, I have to say, but I gained a lot of awareness. I also realized how much I try to control situations.
Yeah, did it bring you to your highest and greatest good, do you believe?
Look, I would say it definitely sparked a point of awareness that I wasn't aware of before. And was it at my highest and best? I don't think I got to that point, purely because I was carrying a sense of this is how it had to look. And so I didn't let go enough in that. That was my first experience of it. I'm being called again. So I've, the plant's calling me again. So who knows when that will happen.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
again, you said some things that are very present now without going into your personal history or anything, but did you have some deep rooted trauma that you needed to release?
No. So I had, when I look back on my life, I know I've had a blessed life. I've had a very good life. I've had loving parents, loving siblings. We emigrated from Australia. But what I realize now in the place where I am now, I actually, it's a bit like what I was saying before, the trauma is not what happens to us, it's what happens for us to learn from. And I actually, in hindsight now, looking back on my life, I now realize that the move from England to Australia was a traumatic event for me, even though for me at the time I felt really excited. I was 11 years old.
Right.
I was really excited about going across the other side of the world. I don't have to wear shoes to school, things like that. There'll
Right.
be kangaroos hopping down the street, which there weren't, but anyway. So, it was, at the time and in hindsight, I never thought it was a trauma. But by learning about myself and some of the ways and the patterns of my behaviors and what I do in my life now,
Mhm.
I can connect that emigration, that move to some of the ways that I am in myself and in my life now.
Right, right. I know my first experience with plant medicine, little experience, but it was
Yeah.
insightful. I was in China. And you go to Beijing, China, and you go to the tea shop, and I mean, they got a herb for everything.
Yeah.
Well, you lose 100 pounds, you get rid of wrinkles, you lower your blood sugar, all this kind of stuff. So, I get 4 or 5 teas. I come home,
Yeah.
and I'm a greedy American. I get a mug. I have 2 mugfuls. Next thing I know, Zoe, I was like, which way did he go, George? Which way did he go? I was on one. And when my husband came home, he goes, what's wrong with you? I said, I am high as a kite. He goes,
Yeah.
"Oh, what did you do?" And I said, I drank the tea. Well, he's traveled the world and he said, the tea, how much did you drink? And I said, oh, I had 2 mugfuls. He said, 2 mugfuls. He said, how did they serve it to you? I said, oh, what about a little 4 ounce cup?
Yeah.
He says, I want you to drink plenty of water and just lay here and rest. If your heart, blood pressure goes up, we're going to take you to the emergency room, whatever. So, brains, I say that to say any type of herb is a medicine to a degree. Too
That's
much,
right.
too much rosemary uh,
Yeah.
in oils, anything, they can
Mm.
cause you to have an adverse effect. If you are under a doctor's care, stay under a doctor's care. These are options, these are choices that we offer for you to try, but be cautious and be under the watchful eye of someone like Zoe, that this
Yeah.
is their zone of genius. This, they know what to do, they know what to tell you not to do, how to progress so slowly. You don't have to go full
Yeah.
throttle. So what would you say to the person that wants to try kinesiology and this, and they just, I'm gonna try it? What would you say to that person? How would you encourage them?
I would encourage the curiosity, to be honest. And I guess for me, one of the clear things that I see this as is, you know, so many, particularly women, I think, and particularly mothers, they put themselves at the bottom of the pile. We do everything. When the kids yell out, "Where's this? Where's that?" It's the mum that always knows where everything is in the house. And, it's one of those things where it's like self-care is not selfish, it's sacred.
Right.
So take the time, brains, to go and care for yourselves. Put yourself at the top of the pinnacle, because you fill your cup, you're going to have more energy to fill everybody else's cup. And, your body knows the truth, and the body holds the wisdom and the pain. So to be able to get in touch with that and connect with it, you're going to actually find yourself healing yourself, because you do the work, not me. I facilitate. But what will happen is there'll be a flow-on effect. It ripples out. And, to be able to connect into yourself and remember who you are is a beautiful experience, so that you can let go of your story around who you are as a person and what your life has been. If you can let go of that and truly connect with your heart, you're putting yourself first and you're actually being guided into a sacred, held, safe space.
Right. Now, that's a big ask. Okay.
It is. It is.
Big ask. Now, how do I trust you with my child?
Um, I have some long-standing experience of children. I've had two of my own. I've had a lot of siblings and nieces and nephews to work with. I now get referrals from a local child psychologist who is bringing that very scientific, logical approach to children's care and mental health. And she's now collaborating with me in order to support the children that she refers to me, because I can do the body work. She can't do that. So where she will do talk therapy, I come in and do the body work to actually settle the nervous system. So all those little feral cats out there who've got their big emotions and they don't know how to regulate themselves, they can come to me and they can find calm and peace and a sense of self, where we can then start to delve a little deeper than just the conversations.
And
And
that's
so,
so hard though. And again, I'm asking from an outside perspective because the mind and the experiences have not truly developed for
that's right.
the
Yeah.
7-year-old or a 9-year-old. And we as adults are going in, for the lack of a better term, manipulating and altering that based upon epigenetic generational trauma.
Yes.
I'm seeing it as a slippery slope. Again,
Yeah.
that's what you know how to do. That's what the psychologist knows how to do. And
Mm.
that's what the parent is trusting you to do. And the
Yeah.
child is just laying there, just okay, whatever.
Yeah. Or bouncing around the room,
Right,
which is
right.
also,
And you have so many children. That's another thing I
yeah.
brains is that the species, what
Mm.
we know as human beings right now, is evolving into something else. It's just like
Yes.
when, man went from hunched over to standing up. We are moving into the next evolution of humanity, what that looks like, civilization, what that looks like. Because there's too many people that are neurodivergent. Too
Yeah.
Now, we've always had a person that's been, we say it here, they're touched, or they're a
Yeah.
little special, or they're different, right. But I'm talking about from the onset,
Yeah.
they learn differently. They have a heightened sense of sound, or some are very high functioning, some are very good with mathematics. I was talking to one little boy and I was telling him I was at Loch Ness, uh,
Yeah.
and I was looking for Nessie. He told me about every dinosaur there was. I mean,
Yeah.
down to, but his mother goes and she's trying to shush him. You don't have to shush him. I was interested in what
Yeah. Absolutely.
you can't be ashamed of that. You've got to work with it because it is something different. It
Mm.
is very different. Do you agree? Do you find that that's a lot more common
I,
than it was?
yeah, I do actually. And I think, I think schools have a lot of impact here, because they have the kid who is different, who learns differently, who jiggles around and is hyperactive because they can't sit still and they're wiggling away, and they instantly go to, oh, let's get them assessed for ADHD. And it's like, I sort of sit here and think, no, this poor little kid, he just wants to know who he is and how can she learn in a way that she understands. And what I've found is I've recently just completed some amazing training on primitive reflexes. Now, these are the reflexes that come in to every person in utero, and they're supposed to be integrated and by around about 3-4 years old. And they look at the movement of the body from utero through to standing, so crawling and all those sorts of things, lifting the head up. And when they're not integrated, they have an impact on learning and development, physical and emotional and mental development down the track. So if you have a C-section and your child does not come through the birth canal, you don't integrate the spinal galant reflex. And later in life, they end up being fidgety and wriggly because they can't have anything on their backs. They feel sensitive on their back. And in school, that looks like ADHD.
right,
And
right.
it's actually it can be spinal galant reflex or an ATNR, an asymmetric tonic neck reflex that's not integrated.
And here they're quick to give the kids, they want to give you Ritalin, they want to put you on drugs because you've got 24 kids in the classroom, you got one teacher
Exactly.
state,
And teachers are doing their best.
they're doing their
Teachers are
best,
doing their
doing their
best. They
best.
really are.
And
So,
you may just have a child that's just hyper. They
yeah,
tried to diagnose one of my, I call them my grand buddies,
yeah,
one of my grand buddies, and come to find out, I told his mother, I said, no, just don't go for the okey doke.
yeah.
Don't just get put in that box because of there's other things. There's ethnicity, social,
Mm,
economic, all of that got something to do with it, whether you believe it or not. It does.
yeah,
It wasn't
absolutely.
it wasn't
There's a
one
majority of Yeah, there is a majority of adults are now walking around with primitive reflexes not integrated.
and they realizing it now that they have ADHD in their 40s because through the
Mm.
diagnosis of what their children are getting. But come to find out, my grandbuddy was gifted.
Yeah, yeah, right.
And people don't realize that gifted children have a struggle in fitting in, just like
Absolutely.
children that are, yeah, they're uber smart, but they
Mhm.
get bored, they get distracted, they, don't necessarily connect with their peer group. Because
Yes, absolutely.
I took him on a date. We went out to dinner and we went to a play. He talked to me like he was 15 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, this is not, I'm not seeing the characteristics or what I would think would be characteristics of a child that had certain learning disabilities. He's, again,
Yeah,
super smart. So working with children, that is a gift too, because a lot of programs now, they don't really offer that. But in schools here in
that's
the
right.
US, if you're going to something that's more progressive and holistic, they're offering meditation, they're doing Reiki,
Yes.
they are doing sound therapy, they're doing drumming.
Yeah.
All of these things help get the body's rhythm, and they're not shaming and punishing and making you have standards and ostracizing you in front of the classroom. They are really having some sort of harmony. So
Yes.
I give you your credit for that. Now let's talk about drumming really quickly, because I see
Yeah.
that you have beautiful drumming. I was called when I had a download to change my frequency, and I joined a drum circle.
Oh, good.
And from shamanic, from training and wisdom, I'm sure that you started drumming. How do you find that
Yeah.
that really helps regulate people?
I use it a lot in clinic. I also run women's circles and workshops, so I often bring the drum there. And when I actually I've got her here. I made my drum myself.
Yes.
This is
Oh,
this is
she's
my drum,
beautiful.
and this is the weaving that I did on the back for her. So this is a hummingbird, and it's a willow frame with a goat hide. You can see the spine on it too.
When I come to Australia, I'm gonna go somewhere and make my drum. I see them all the time. I want one.
Oh, they're beautiful. Yeah. And this was these are quite unique to a place called Spirit Drumming. I found the stick and decorated it, but we make two-sided drum heads, which are
Wow.
beautiful, kangaroo and suede. But
Oh,
this was the stick that I found, and then I also made the rattle,
thank
which
you.
is yeah, so out of the same stick.
Wow.
So why do I use the drumming? And I use the rattle a lot too. I find that it clears the noise. We're all in our heads, as I said. So, when you drum, it becomes a almost like a chant and a meditative process. It becomes the heartbeat. And so I tend to clear with the rattle and then connect with the drum. So, it's clearing the noise so that the soul can speak, so that you can hear the wisdom of the person that you're working with. And with the rattle, we shake loose anything that's not needed and
Mm,
just flicking it away.
wow. So let me ask you
Yeah,
a couple quick questions before we conclude, because
love to.
I want to get to know you a little bit better. You say you got a
Okay.
fur baby. You got a fur baby. Uh,
I have.
if you were an animal, no, let's say if you were a dog, what
Yeah.
kind of dog would you be?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I would probably be something like a Saint Bernard.
Oh, that's sweet.
I'm big. I'm dependable. I carry all the medicine with me,
Oh,
and I'm right there for when you need it most.
that's wonderful. If you were a tool in the tool shed, what tool
Mm.
would you be?
I would be, I'd be a spirit level.
Really?
Yeah, because you can draw a line with it in the sand. You can balance and align. I like that idea.
I'd be a power drill.
Oh, nice.
I just want to lock it down. That's for sure. If you were an appliance in the kitchen, what appliance would you be?
Ooh. Um, I initially what popped into my head just then was a Thermomix, but I don't have one of them, so I don't know how they work.
Everybody
But
loves them because they're self-contained.
there you go.
I'm the
But
refrigerator.
I think I'd like to be a kettle
Oh,
because it's simple. You know what it's there for. It can warm you up. You know, it can do so many things, and it's just always there.
and it knows how to whistle.
It does. I've got a good dog whistle, actually.
Exactly. I know. I would be the refrigerator.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, because you can
Full of
always,
nourishment.
yeah, full of nourishment. People come to you all the time. You keep it nice and cool. There's always something that you
Yeah.
want. And then when it gets too intense, you just put in the freezer.
Yeah. I like that.
If you can time travel, go back to the past, stay here in the present, project to the future. Where you landing?
Hmm. I think I would I would like to think that I would land where I belonged. Now, I don't know where that would be, but I kind of feel like I would be on a bridge somewhere that connects everything together.
Wow.
The past and the future, the different lives that we all lead. But I'm actually on a bridge that connects the past and the future together.
That's pretty interesting. I've never heard that before. That's
Yeah.
pretty authentic. Um, if you could have dinner with anybody, past, present, future, in the world,
Oh,
what
that's
type
always
of
such a hard
conversation?
question. That's always such a hard question because you instantly go, there's so many people.
Right,
I'd be
right,
having a huge dinner party.
right.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'd kind of like to have a chat with like Maya Angelou
Mm,
because she's, there's power in her words and her rhythm and the color, but also Brené Brown. I
mm,
think I wouldn't mind having a chat with Brené Brown
yeah,
because she shows a lot of magic and
absolutely.
she's very authentic in her voice, but she can be messy.
Mhm.
And I like the idea of her showing up. I reckon if her and I got together, we'd be planning a women's retreat by the end of the dinner party.
Well, you know what I do? I have a board of directors, and I literally have a board of directors, and I have a big whiteboard, and I
Yeah.
change out the individual pictures of people that inspire me. And through
Oh,
my
nice.
meditation, I have conversations with them, and sometimes I really feel that I'm channeling their energy. When I'm
Yeah.
strength, I'll go to Muhammad Ali. When I'm going for wisdom, I go to God. When
Yeah.
I am going for friendship, I've got a picture of my best friend. So, and I change those out because, again, like in life, the board of directors, what's racing around in your head? Well, you
Yeah.
have a wealth of information. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
being
much.
and then going into depth to explain what it is and how you utilize all of these great modalities. Tell my brains how to get in contact with you. Brains, I don't care where you are in the world. She's just a point and a click away. She's in Australia. I'm in the United States, and here we are via Zoom. And kinesiology, you can work remotely with that as well.
Oh, yeah. I work in person in Maroubra in New South Wales, which is Sydney's eastern suburbs, but I do online anywhere in the world. And I also work distantly. So for kids, doing distant sessions are amazing because I put the healing, and it's using guided energy medicine, I put that healing into a playlist and
Wow.
I program it to be listened to and the healing be received when they do it. And I did that with a dog in America and it got over its anxiety around thunderstorms.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So how to get in touch with me? I did this. Now it looks back to front, but when you replay it,
Oh, it's absolutely, it's perfect. I got it.
it should
I
be the
got
right
it.
way round.
Yep.
So it's www.zode.com.au at Zode Kinesiology. And as I said, yeah, available whenever you need and ready to work with anybody who's interested. And in fact, for your brains, your lovely people, I'm happy to give a little discount to anybody if they want to book in with me or reach out to me before the end of August.
Okay.
More than happy for people to reach out via email, Instagram, Facebook, or my website, and we can set up a time and I'll give a little brains discount.
Well, brains, take advantage of it. I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I'm telling you. I only bring you the brightest and the best. I vet these people before they're on my show. Just because, I have a conversation with them, there may not be any synchronicity. There may not be any value to you. That's what I'm
Mm,
looking for. I'm looking to serve you. I
yeah,
already got it. I can have a one-on-one conversation with these people, but I want to bring you to your highest and greatest good right here on the edge. So I need you to go in, love, like, share, and become a subscriber.
absolutely.
You would be surprised. We've got over 2,000 episodes, everything from soup to nuts. Literally, enough. We do. And we thank you and we praise you. And we just hope that light continues to shine on you for the goodness that you do, because it is not done in vain.
Mm,
I get to thank you
absolutely.
for the flowers that you need. But again, you are ascending to a much higher and greater good. Okay. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, April. It's been an absolute honor, and I've loved just chatting with you and the brains. And I look forward to connecting with other people again soon.
Absolutely. We're going to keep.
And I want to leave you with one thing. Everybody has the capacity to heal themselves.
Mm.
They've just got to listen, connect, be curious, and be willing to ask for help when they need it.
Exactly. And it's like with anything else, make the ask.
Mm, yeah,
But don't only make the ask, you got to close on the deal.
absolutely.
All right, Brains. We'll talk to you real soon.
Bless you.
All right. Bye, Zoe.
Bye.